Alphonse Daudet was a French novelist and a short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War, in which France was defeated by Prussia, led by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and now parts of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into Prussian hands. Read the story to find out what effect this had on the life at school.
Now, this particular area where you see on the one side France, this is the area which got involved in the Franco-Prussian War, which got involved in the First World War. What we know as Germany today, what we know as Poland today, what we know as Prussia. Prussia does not even exist now. So what we know as these places, the borders were quite different at that time. And these were the wars that were instrumental in those borders being what they are now. People around France were trying to eat up France's territory. They were able to do that. We are going to read about what has happened in this particular case in the portion of the Franco-Prussian War, where the French-speaking Alsace and Lorraine are taken over by the Germans. Overall, this particular story is about how war affects human beings and what invasion and displacement feels like. These are the main themes that are running in the story. Also, another theme is education. Let's come to the M of the M Hamel. This does not stand for Mr. This stands for Monsieur. So it's the French word for Mr. You will always write, don't try to be too smart, don't write Monsieur and all of that, just write M Hamel. That should do. But by mistake, don't write Mr. Now, here is a boy, and we are talking about a small town, not like a village, more like a village. Okay, there's a boy who's going to school, and like any other school boy in those days, the school was not a lot of fun in those days. Okay, school was pretty boring, and also it could be because there was corporal punishment, so it could be dreadful. And this boy does not want to go to school because in the school they'll be doing the most boring things of all, and that is grammar, participles in grammar. Now for you, grammar is very interesting because mostly they give you worksheets or fill in the blanks or this and that, and it is like very easy to do. But their idea of grammar in those days was like they are given a list of participles and you just have to keep memorizing them, like how people in the olden days in the pathshalas used to memorize Roshoy Dirghoi and all of that. It's the same process. It was dull and students did not want to study that. And I did not know the first word about them. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. This is called playing hooky from school. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping. So you see, everything outside the school was good. Obviously, you don't see things this way. There are no birds. You live in an urban setting. And in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling, which means that already the Prussians, the German-speaking Prussians, had invaded. Drilling means not to make holes, but to do kuchkawaj, which means the fitness routines, the exercises that they do. They march up and down the place. It's a show of strength. It's exercising and a show of strength. It's called drill. So drilling. You may have been part of a drill when you were, when there was a sports day of the school. They may have had drills there. It was all much more tempting than the rule of participles, but he had the strength to resist and hurried off to school.
When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Then as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith watcher who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin called after me, "Don't go so fast, bub. You will get to your school in plenty of time." I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath.
Now, he is hurrying to school. He passed the town hall. What is the town hall? A town hall is a building. What is the purpose of this building? Well, considering those towns and places where nothing of the size of what today's cities are. Okay, in today's cities, a town hall won't work. But in those days, they had very few residents, inhabitants of a particular town, and so they had a particular building which was dedicated to taking important decisions, discussing, debating, a sort of like a mini parliament. All the business district and the important locations would be there. That was the center of town. And then in the next ring around it would be the residential areas. So that's how the whole thing was planned. So as he passed the town hall, he saw a crowd in front of the bulletin board. See, you had no television. You didn't have radio also. How would people know the news? Newspapers didn't go from door to door. So people had to, for some reason or the other, come to the center of the town. From the last house in the village, the center of the town would probably be 20 minutes walk. They would, for some reason, come to the center of the town. And while they're at the center of the town, they would go and stand in front of the bulletin board where the town hall is, and they would read the headlines. And that is how they would know what is happening and what is not happening. So for the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from them. The battles they had lost, the draft. The draft is when the army puts up a notice and says that we are taking in any able-bodied man should come and join the army. And then they draft them in. So the draft, the orders of the commanding officer. And I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Why is there a crowd? Because if there is a crowd, then obviously there is some important matter that has been put up on the bulletin. Then as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith, and here be careful, the tendency is to call this watcher, but if you see, it's actually wachter or W-A-C-H-T-E-R, not W-A-T-C-H-E-R, who was there with his apprentice. An apprentice is a trainee, reading the bulletin, called after me. Don't go so fast, bub. Bub is just a way of calling me. You'll get to your school in plenty of time. So obviously, Franz thought that he was being made fun of because he was already late for school and everybody knew what time school started. So maybe he was saying that he will get to school plenty of time the next day. In any case, he reached M. Hamel's little garden. Now you might be wondering, he was supposed to go to school. What is he doing in M. Hamel's little garden? Well, in those days, things were small. So the entire town had one school building. That school building served two purposes. A, to teach students. B, to serve as the residence for the master. There was no separate headmaster, other teachers, no. Just one teacher. He would live there with his family. He would keep a garden, tend to his livestock, and he would also teach.
Usually, when the school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen, but of course, that day everything had to be as quiet as a Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. But nothing happened. Miss M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you."
So all through small changes you can notice, like he is going to school, the crowd in front of the bulletin board, the reaction of the blacksmith, and then over here, usually when school began, there was a great bustle. Now you have seen this bustle in your own school. There is a lot of chaos, a lot of noise, and then things quieted down. Again, you can hear that bustle during tiffin break, and again you can hear that bustle at the end of day, which could be heard out in the street, the opening and closing of desks. So you might be wondering, what opening and closing of desks? We don't open and close any desks. Well, they have a different kind of desk. There is a lid of that desk. The desk is first of all slanting. It slants towards you downwards. And then you can open that lid and inside there is a little space where you keep your books and stuff. And then after that, you take your books out, close the lid, and that lid becomes your tabletop where you put your copy and write. So desks being opened and closed, lessons repeated in unison. Unison meaning everybody repeating the same lesson together. Very loud with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. That ruler is a symbol of ancient method of teaching, because that ruler either came down on the palm of your hand or on your knuckles or on your backside, depending on what the teacher preferred. Why would they hit your backside? Because if they hit your backside would turn red and become sore. So when you sit down, it would cause you further pain. But now it was all so still. So this is quite different from other days. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had to be quiet as Sunday morning. Why is Sunday morning quiet? Sunday morning school is not there, and that is why everything is quiet. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with this terrible iron ruler. See, a wooden ruler will not do, under his arm. He calls it terrible. I had to open the door and go in before everybody, fully expecting that he would be scolded. You can imagine how I blushed. Blushed is when blood rises to your cheeks in embarrassment and fear and excitement, and so your cheeks turn reddish. So I blushed and how frightened I was, but nothing happened. Thing number 2 that was different inside the school. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, which he's probably never ever been in his entire life, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you."
I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap all embroidered that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Hauser with his 3-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several other besides. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had bought an old primer, thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages.
Watch the next part for the rest of the chapter. If you want a video on a particular topic, let us know in the comment section below. And kindly visit our website raretutorial.com to know more. Thank you for watching the video. For more such educational content, please like, share and subscribe to our channel.